So welcome to our Facebook Live. I'm Mary Beth,
And I'm Linda.
and we are co-directors of the Widows Project. Welcome to my backyard. So far, the neighbors are not mowing their lawn, but if they do decide to join us, welcome to the neighborhood.
Or trucks on the highway.
Yeah. But it's just too pretty of a day to be inside, and so here we are sitting by the pond. But today we're talking about the subject, I thought I was ready. Sometimes the loss of a loved one comes there's our neighbor. Anyway, sometimes the loss of a loved one is very sudden and a shock. But other times we have some time.
Mm-hmm.
And we think we might be somewhat prepared. As we've talked with people on this journey, we find that there are certain things you can do. We call that preparatory grief. Some people go through a checklist of their plans, such as funeral arrangements, things like that. Writing a will, having a power of attorney, what do they call it? Advanced directives. That people will address all of those issues. But what we're talking about is the actual grief involved, even when you have known for some time that your loved one's passing may be coming. We call this preparatory grief.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly it does help the heart to have something of a dress rehearsal
Yeah.
for what may be coming up.
It's good to think about it.
It's good to think it through. So, and if you are caregiving for someone whose health is declining, certainly this is on your mind daily. But we've talked to some people who have lost their spouses, and one woman in particular said that she knew her husband's decline was imminent, and so she was afraid to leave him alone at all for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And she, even doing errands, if he was going to do an errand, she'd come alongside just in case. And looking back now, her regret is that she didn't spend more time just enjoying the time she did have with him. Another gal we talked to said that she was pretty much in denial, even though her husband talked to her about 3 weeks before he died and said, I really don't think I have long to live.
Mm-hmm.
And he had been continuing his practice at work. He wanted to stop because it was too tiring for him. But she just didn't even understand why he would talk that way. So even though it was anticipated, her brain would not allow her to really take it in. As it turned out in her case, he passed away from complications with COVID. And so that, of course, cut short the anticipated time she thought she would have with him.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, Linda, when my dad called me one day, and he was coming up on his 80th birthday, and he said, you know, Mary Beth, the Bible says we have 70 years and 80 by reason of strength. And he was dealing with some illnesses at that time, but I said, I don't even want to talk about it. It was terrible.
Yeah.
I was a lot younger then. No. Anyway,
You were less mature.
I was less, yeah, I've really grown up a lot since then. But I said, Dad, you're going to live to be 100. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
But you know what? He passed away 3 weeks after his 80th birthday. And I can look back now and see that he wanted to talk about this with me. So one of the things we can do with our loved ones who are facing a long-term illness like this is we can talk with them about their emotions and our emotions. I know that Bob and I never did this, and his his illness was surprising, and 3 months later he was gone. But before this, he and I would never talk about. We would look at each other and say, "Honey, I just don't know what I'd do without you," and the other person would say, "I don't either," and change the subject. Then we just hold each other tighter. So we never had these discussions. I do think it would have been better for us if we had. What was your experience, Linda? I know you had some preparation.
I did. Kirby was diagnosed with CLL, leukemia, in 2010.
Yeah.
So we were anticipating that I would outlive him. We did not have any idea how long he would live, because leukemia can be anything, especially chronic.
Oh, yeah.
And so we talked about it a little bit. We did some traveling, but I was surprised in the end that it came so soon.
Yeah. How long was it between diagnosis and his passing?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. Okay.
Yeah. And we made it through one bout of chemo, and he got better again. And he was actually to the oncologist the end of February, and he got sick the end of March and died April 16th.
Wow.
So he didn't live as long as the oncologist said he would probably live either. But nothing can prepare you for watching your husband take his last breath,
Oh, my goodness sakes.
or his memorial service,
Yes.
or going home to an empty house.
That's right. You know, I had a friend whose adult son, I suppose he was probably 50, 48, 50, something like that when he passed away. And he knew his time was short. I think he lived 18 months after his diagnosis.
Okay.
But he did some preparatory grieving in a really, I think, delightful way. He was a hunter, and he just went out and hunted as long as he had the strength to do it. And one day, while he was up on a mountaintop, he made a video to say, to say "I love you" to all of his family and friends. And so here was this video on top of a mountain, and he said, and it was shown at his memorial. And so he said,
Great.
"If you're watching this video, I'm not here." And and he talked about his emotions. He talked about going to be with Jesus. He talked about, "I love you, and I want all of you to see me again in heaven someday."
Yeah.
And I found that very comforting. And he was actually hopeful about his future in heaven.
Good.
With Christ. So it was a lovely, caring gesture for those who are left behind.
My dad wrote us a letter,
Did he?
and it started off, "Dear family, if you're reading this letter, I'm not here." Kind of an odd way to start a letter, but true.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there are ways that we can help our loved ones who are left behind, because when we go to heaven, we're just fine. We're better than fine.
Oh, yeah. It's those of us left behind
Yeah.
that are not so fine.
That's right. That's right.
In the end, grief has surprises for
It
us.
does.
We never know when the end will come.
That's right.
It keeps surprising us,
It does.
really.
It does, doesn't it?
Nothing can fully prepare us for losing a loved one.
That's right. Even as you say that, I remember folks telling me, I just knew. Something inside said their time is short, or something's going to happen, or, they had some people might call it a premonition, others might call it a word of knowledge, or something in their spirit.
Yeah.
Just let them know. So those are things that are very comforting to look back on, and we can look back and see signs that we were not open to at the time.
Yeah.
But whether we have opportunity for preparatory grief or not, Jesus is with us. when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and he will never leave us or forsake us. God bless you.